y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to the second half of my most and least used makeup of 2019. If you haven't seen my most used makeup video yet, I will leave that link down below. But today we are tackling the embarrassing portion of this, and that is going to be the least used makeup of 2019. Now, this category could probably be a lot bigger than it is, but these are things that, like, I picked because whenever you're going through your collection, you're just going through and being like, what am I gonna wear on my face today? You have things that you don't necessarily use, but you at least think, about using. It crosses your brain and you're like, I could use that blush palette, or I could use that eyeshadow palette. These are things that basically it didn't even cross my mind. Basically, they are invisible or were invisible to me, and like I said, there wasn't even a fleeting moment of, I could totally use that to create a bomb diggity look. It just, the thought wasn't even there. So we're just gonna kind of have a nice deep dive into of what was the least used products I used that should I really still keep in my collection? Because if I'm not using them, they're kind of going to waste. We're going to start off with a palette I talked about in my top 10 least favorite eyeshadow palettes, and that is the Jeffree Star Thirsty palette. I reviewed this. Wasn't a huge fan. Like, the color selection is nice. It's very summery and bright and whatever. I mean, the mattes were okay. I don't consider this to be the Blood Sugar, Blue Blood, Jawbreaker, Alien, that whole, I don't consider it to be that formula. Y'all know I absolutely hate Filthy Rich, Snatched, and Plunged. I think those are horrible shimmer formulas. I just hate the way that they apply, the way that they glitter glue, they eat liner. Just was not a formula I felt, And see, the thing is you look at this and you're like, okay, there's some really pretty colors in here. Soraya, you use shades like this and create looks out of colors like this. Yes, I do. But did I do that, or do I think about doing that with this palette? No. I'm not sure if it's because the matte formula just isn't my favorite, or if it's because the shimmers make me upset, or I'm not sure what it is, but on a whole, I never touched it. I mean, it just wasn't a thing for me. Even though this row up here is absolutely gorgeous, but it's just, I think of other palettes that I have, and those are the ones where I'm like, oh yeah, even other Jeffree Star palettes, whereas this one was just like, well, I bought it, I reviewed it, and I keep it because it's one of his palettes, but that's about all it's doing. Then two more palettes that, if I'm being 110% honest, these should probably should be decluttered. But these are the Morphe 25A and 25B. Now, I had ordered these when I got the original Jaclyn Hill palette, and I was like, well, I'm getting this. I wanted to get free shipping, so I think on Morphe you have to spend like $75 or $100, and I was like, okay, well, let's try some of these cult favorite, whatever palettes from them. And like I keep saying, you all know I am a relative bright, vivid, unnatural color lover. So you're kind of looking at these and you're like, what were you thinking? This one's kind of up my alley because it's like kind of warm toned with some peachy whateverness. This one is very, very cool toned, but I can tell you for a fact that I haven't touched these once throughout the year of 2019. It wasn't even when I was like going through and finding for like, okay, I am gonna do a neutral look, I am gonna do a more natural whatever look, I didn't even think about using these. Because even if I didn't have things like the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam or other neutral palettes that I liked more, I've got the Jaclyn Hill palette, which has a lot of really nice, beautiful neutrals that could probably get me at least something near as these, but they've just been sitting there and I'm like, there's this feeling inside that a part of me just really wants to get some use out of these before I send them away, because I'm like, I spent my money on them and at some point I was attracted to them, so I really when it gets used before I declare them, but every time it comes to doing my face, I don't think to use them. It just doesn't even pass my mind to be like, oh, Soraya, you have that Morphe 35A, 25A, and 25B. You should use those. It just doesn't even happen. So when I do some kind of declutter at some point, I need to really think hard about these. Morphe isn't my absolute favorite formula. Honestly, should at some point play with them to really get an idea, but in 2019, these were definitely not a thing. Two more palettes that were definitely not a thing in 2019 that I also find a little bit funny because I talked about these in my top 10 most favorite limited edition palettes, and these are the Lorac Unzipped Sunset palettes. I've got the mountain and the ocean one, and in that video I talked about, I was like, yeah, they've got a bunch of really nice, beautiful, more unique shades. I mean, that green, that blue, that copper, even that. This one I reached for a lot in 2018 for like an inner corner highlight. And this one's got that green, that blue. You know, you look at them and you're like, yeah, these have got really great potential. But then the potential is absolutely wasted because they're just sitting in your collection with your other Lorac Unzipped palettes. And honestly, that whole drawer of Lorac, I probably barely, no, I did touch some of them because I used some of those in some Halloween tutorials, but for practical everyday and wearing on camera, I don't think I touched any of my Lorac shadows. But these ones especially, because once again, like I said, when I'm going through, at least when it comes to like the Lorac Mega Pros and the other ones, I think I have an inkling of maybe potentially possibly using those, but then I don't. These ones I just didn't think about using. Honestly, what I need to do is I need to like create like a makeup rotation where I literally write down each and every single one of the palettes I own, and then every day I use a new one. I use a different one, you know, other than just going, you know, doing something that'll force me out of my zone of using the same thing over and over again. Because many times you use it and you're like, oh wow, why haven't I used this? But you just need that push to use it again. Then a palette that is very much in my color comfort zone, the Urban Decay Naked Cherry. Would have been great today. We could have been, you know, it would work. The vibe is there. And in all honesty, I could probably put like all my naked palettes in this caveat, but once again, we're going off the whole which ones do I think about using and which ones are just a fleeting little moment of whateverness. And this one is definitely a fleeting moment of whateverness. I mean, I don't even know what it is. Like, I'll reach for the Naked Heat. I'll reach for the Naked Smoky when I'm going like all kinds of vamptastic and emo and goth. You know, I'll even reach for, you know, one of the original three, but for some reason, this one just, it isn't calling to me. And I don't know if it's because I have these shades in other palettes that are formulas that I like better. If it's the matte to shimmer ratio, I'm not sure what it is, but for some reason, the Naked Cherry is just one that isn't standing out to me in my collection to be used. The next item, it's a Complexion product, and it's something that I used to rave about it, and I'm not sure if either my complexion has changed, because y'all know I've been on that skincare game, if my one has gone off or what, but the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. This used to be, when this came out, I think this was 2018 or 2017, and it was in my top products for that year. I just absolutely loved this. I loved how it looked on my skin. I love how it applied. Now, it does smell like turpentine. It smells like paint. But I absolutely loved how this foundation looked on my skin. And I don't know if it's because I found other things that I like better, like the LA Girl Foundation, the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Stick, the Josie Maran, you know, but for some reason, this foundation, I'm pretty sure didn't get picked up once in 2019. It just kind of sat there. I did declutter a fair amount of the colors I had of this, and I think I might. This foundation is only like $5 if I get like some sort of, I don't know, money for something or whatever. You know, I might just pitch all of mine because I've at least had them for a year, and these are good for a year. So I might just start from scratch and buy myself a new one and see if it does have anything to do with the formula going off. But this is just a foundation. Like I said, it just sits there and I think, oh yeah, it's amazing. It looks so good. And a part of me is like paranoid about like trying it again because I don't want it to look bad, because I mean, same thing with the Too Faced Born This Way. It looked so good for so long, and then something happened and all of a sudden it looked absolutely awful. This next one kind of hurts because y'all know if there's one thing in my collection that I absolutely love and I absolutely love to use, it is highlighter. I mean, I'll be switching out my highlighter. Obviously, there are highlighters that I reach for regularly, but highlighter is one of those things that I can like continually bounce back and forth from, because you're like, oh, I need this tone for this look, and oh, I want to go a little icy, oh, I want to go a little neutral, pink, purple, green, puce. And so when there's a highlighter that I feel is especially neglected in my collection, I kind of feel like a bad mom, a bad makeup owner, because I'm like, you're my baby. You're my child, and you're not getting the attention you deserve. But definitely not getting the attention they deserve are these Smashbox and Casey Holmes highlighter palettes. And now this is when you start really thinking about, like, you know, how much makeup you have, how long you've had it for, why you're not using it. But I'm pretty sure these came out 2 or 3 years ago. This one here is in pearl, and then this one is the gold one. Now, of the two, I definitely prefer the pearl in formula as well as color, because the gold one is just like these highlights, I can kind of, I understand why I haven't used them as much as I should. And that's simply because I feel like these palettes are like a kind of zhuzhed up version of the Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette, where they're not like setting powders, but they're not like cha-cha-cha-cha. Like, if I'm gonna go for a highlighter, I'm gonna go for a highlighter. There are very few times where I actually tell myself, yes, I am going to wear a subdued, subtle, diffused highlighter. No, that's just not happening in my makeup game. I need something that's gonna bounce off my cheekbone and then be seen from space. And these just don't really do it. I mean, I hold on to them because I have issues, and kind of in the back of my mind, it's like, well, I'll use them someday. When in reality, they're just sitting there being like, lady, get it together, you know you ain't using us. And then I have to take a moment because I realize my makeup is actually talking back to me now. But like, they're nice, it's a smooth formula, but it's just for like someone who wants a little bit more of a subtle something something, and I have other subtle something something highlighters that I like more than these. These were just, I mean, face palettes on a whole, I didn't use like hardly anything in 2019, and then these ones on top of that, it was just a whole bunch of not happening. Another whole bunch of not happening were the Jeffree Star Liquid Frosts. Now, the only ones I have are from the Blue Blood collection, because I wanted to review like the majority of that collection. And so you've got this color, which is like, okay, all right, that's Soraya approved. That is good for my complexion. And then you've got this much deeper one with like a greeny gold, and then you've got this blue one. So, you know, there is that going on, but the main reason I didn't reach for these is because I didn't like how they were mixed in with the foundation. I didn't like them dotted on the high points of my cheeks, because you dot them there and then you blend them out and they would blend out into glitter. Now, I like glitter, but I like glitter with the sheen. Like, you see how you've got like the highlighty sheen? If I had glitter on top of that, that'd be fine. But if you just have the glitter, then just no. So these, I mean, I honestly need to just take my least used makeup and put that in the front in one big basket in front of me and be like, you are not allowed to touch anything else until you have used these products and made up your mind about whether you like them or you hate them, and if you're going to keep them or not. That is definitely what I need to do. But I just, you know, I'd reach for my Becca, I'd reach for the Makeup Revolution, I'd reach for my collab, but these ones I was just like, It's okay. Then we might as well stay on with highlighter. Probably, like I said, highlighter is something that I'm pretty good at bouncing back and forth between on and checking out all different things. I probably don't wear the same highlighter twice. But the Urban Decay Afterglow 8-Hour Powder Highlighters. Once again, I've had these for a really long time, so part of me has to wonder if it has something to do with the formula going, it's like, we're done, we've been here for 5 years, let us die. Or if it's just, because when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, everything is good. And now I have a much more honed taste and opinion on makeup. I remember I did recently pull for Sin, which is just this champagne-y gold shade. And I was like, it's okay. It wasn't all kinds of cha-cha-cha-cha. It wasn't the smoothest. It wasn't, it wasn't anything that made me think, yeah, I'm going to go back and I'm going to use that highlighter. And then Fireball, which is like this, it's so hard to explain. Like, it's not a typical sheeny highlighter. It's more of like just a straight up powdery duochrome shift. And then Aura, which is like the a mixture of both. It's like got a shift to it, but it's also just got the smooth pigment. But it's just, none of these were like amazing end all be all. And I just they're sitting there because I have them and they're Urban Decay, and you know how I am with highlighter. But this is something that I do need to really decide, is this something you're gonna keep? Is this something you're gonna like? Is this even something you're gonna pull for? Because I'm gonna pull for it in 2019, they're just sitting there looking all kinds of whatever. Because I remember using Fireball back before I really even knew how to use highlighter. I think I was just slathering this all over my face, being like, I don't know what to do with this. So obviously I'll keep you all updated with decisions I make on this kind of stuff, but these were just kind of Then something that I have spoken highly of on my channel that I haven't used for one reason or another are the Makeup Revolution London, the matte blushes. These are a fantastic bang for your buck. You get a lot of product. They're a really nice formula. And I just don't use them. I don't know if it's because the packaging is hideously boring. I know that sounds like the stupidest reason ever, but it's a thing. But I can tell you probably the main reason for me not reaching for these, because the majority of my matte blushes are blushes that I don't reach for, because y'all know your girl likes an illuminating blush. I like something that gives me a little bit of glow on them cheekies, something that gives me a little bit of lift, a little bit of healthy illuminating. And while these are really great and would be fantastic for matte blush lovers, I just haven't been reaching for these in the same way that I haven't touched my NYX ombre blushes, because I just, typically I go for something that's a little bit more illuminating, and these are a little bit more flat. They're just kind of there, It is definitely something I need to use more, because I do use matte blushes, from time to time. Illuminating is definitely more my thing, but these are a fantastic formula that shouldn't be going to waste. They've got some great colors, they're really wonderful, but they've just been sitting there being all kinds of sad because I like illuminating blushes. Then last but not least, I know these have been repackaged and reformulated, but these are the NYX High Definition blushes. Now, these ones, I'm like, okay, I can't have the same excuse because not all of these are matte. Like that one there has a very nice sheen to it. And this one is kind of like a satin, not a total matte, and it's just like, why are you not using these? I've probably got about 4 more. They don't take up a lot of space. You can see what color they are. I'm just like, what is keeping me from using these? But I haven't touched any of these. I've maybe swatched them or gone through them in a declutter or something like that, but I haven't worn any of these on my face in 2019. And I'm just kind of wondering, I'm like, well, what is going into my psyche that is making me not want to reach for these? Is it because I'm just constantly reaching for the same thing over and over again because I like know the results of that, but I'm trying other formulas like the Patrick Ta and the Kylie, you know? So why can't I use something that's already in my collection? I don't know. It's all kinds of like self-analyzation, you know. That's why I kind of wanted to do this. And if you wanted to see a part 2 of this, I definitely could. I could also just do a least used makeup in my collection, just on a whole, not necessarily in 1 year, but the makeup that I reach for the least in my collection, and kind of take a moment and think, should I be holding on to this or should I declutter it? So let me know down below if that is something you would like to see. Obviously, let me know what you think about the products I talked about, and let me know something that you haven't reached for a lot in 2019. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!